Shalom, brothers and sisters. Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you from Yahuwah the Father and Yahusha our Mashiach, his voice. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah our mighty one is one Yahuwah. This is Brother David coming to you again to bring you the law, statutes, judgments, and commandments of Yahuwah. And we're starting today from Deuteronomy chapter 33. Listen, brothers and sisters. This book is our power. With this book, we can overcome anything. He said our people perish for lack of knowledge. Do you think he was lying? He's telling you the truth. Forget everything else that you're doing. Seek the knowledge that is in this book. It is identified over and over and over again that the people who are posing to be us are not the children of Yasharal. And once we discovered that and we put it out, we see that we hit a nerve. They're not even a Semitic people. They tell you that in the Jewish encyclopedia. They are converts. They're telling you that in the Jewish encyclopedia. They're not even from the bloodline of Shem. They're from Japheth. They tell you that in the Jewish encyclopedia. According to the book, you have to come from Shem, then Eber, then Abraham, and Isaac, then our patriarch Jacob, and finally one of the 12 tribes. They do not identify with any of the tribes. They told you they are converts. There is no conversion to a bloodline, brothers and sisters. How did we find this out? Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 21. Let's begin. Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 1 to 6. Verse 1. And this is the blessing wherewith Moses, the man of the mighty one, blessed the children of Yasharal before his death. The only people he's going to bless is all of the tribes of the children of Yasharal. That's it. No one else is included. When the gathering comes, he's only coming to gather the tribes of the children of Yasharal. That's definitive. You can find that in Revelation. 144,000, 12,000 of each of the tribes of Yasharal. Verse 2. And he said, Yahuwah came from Sinai, and rose up from Seir unto them. He shined forth from Mount Paran, and he came with 10,000s of saints. From his right hand went a fiery law for them. The mighty one came with 10,000 of his saints to the mount, and he gave Moses this fiery law. Verse 3. Yea, he loved the people. All his saints are in thy hand. And they sat down at thy feet. Every one shall receive of thy words. Verse 4. Moses commanded us a law, even indeed for surety, the inheritance of the congregation of Jacob. Do you see that word inheritance? In order to get an inheritance, you need a will and testament. This book is our will and testament. It only tells you of one people who are going to get the land or the promises, the children of Yasharal. It tells you what they're going to go through, their triumphs and their failures. If I was to write my will and testament, and I was to leave all of my substance to my children, after I die, can everyone else in the world take hold of my last will and testament that I gave to my children and collect from that inheritance? Does it work that way? There is no such thing. But the people who translated, transliterated, and have created all of the doctrines that you hear today in the church, these people created a doctrine of inclusion. They call themselves spiritual Israel. Spiritual Israel equals the church. It is a bunch of foolishness. Verse 5. And he was king in Jeshurun. Who was king? Moses. He was our first king. The Father said he was going to raise up another unto us like unto Moses. That was going to be our Mashiach. His name is Yahusha. To him we are to hearken. He was going to be the king in not Jeshurun. When I transliterated this word for myself, it came out to be Yasharan. When the heads of the people in the tribes of Yasharol were gathered together. So you see, brothers and sisters, it tells you who this will and testament belongs to. Only those who are of the DNA of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You can't be a convert to this. This is a bloodline. You have to be born into it. Verse 6. Let Reuben live and not die, and let not his men be few. Why is he saying this? Reuben sinned against our patriarch, Yasharol, Israel, Jacob. He took one of his concubines unto himself and went into her. He was cut off. Moses here is reinstating him and his family lineage. He says, let him live and not die. Let his seed multiply. Verse 7. And this is the blessing of Judah. It's not Judah, it's Uda. If you go to the slave coast, even to this day, it's spelled Q-U-I-D-A-H, which is a transliteration from the French. It gives you the phonetic sound and the phonetic spelling. There is no J. It's pronounced Uda. That's why I have a problem with those who teach that there is no vowel points in Hebrew. How can you say there isn't? Our ancestors came from the land and they named it Uda. How can you say that it's not? Doesn't make too much sense. And he said, hear, Yahuwah, the voice of Uda, and bring him unto his people. Let his hands be sufficient for him, and be thou an help to him from his enemies. Why is he saying that about Uda? After the northern kingdom was dispersed, the only one that was left in their lands was the tribe of Uda. They had the Greeks come in. They had the Romans come in. They decimated our people. They took us into captivity. They destroyed our temple in 70 A.D. Many of us fled into Africa to hide. Verse 8. And of Levi he said, let thy Tumen and thy Urim be with thy Holy One. The Tumen and the Urim are attached to the breastplate. You know, the breastplate that the high priest wore. It's been transferred now. To who? To our mighty one. Why? Because Levi didst prove at Massa, and with whom thou didst strive at the waters of Meribah. What is he talking about here? Remember, they were complaining, and they made statements. Has the mighty one brought us out of Egypt and brought us into this desert to kill us with thirst? Verse 9. Who said unto his father and to his mother? Who said? Levi. I have not seen him. Who did he not see? Must be the Holy One. That's the only one it talks about in the context in verse 8. Neither did he acknowledge his own brethren, nor knew his own children. For they have observed thy word and kept thy covenant. Verse 10. They shall teach Jacob, Yasharol, thy judgments. Who were assigned to teach the judgments? The tribe of Levi. And Yasharol, thy law. They shall put incense before thee, and whole burnt sacrifice upon thine altar. Now, the Tumim and the Urim has been transferred to the Holy One. Who is the Holy One going to give the breastplate to? Later down through the centuries, the breastplate was transferred to Yahusha, our Mashiach. He is now making continual intercession for us in the heavenly realms. This is where the amendment to the law took place. You'll find this in Hebrews chapter 7 and Hebrews chapter 8, verse 11. Bless Yahuwah, his substance, and accept the work of his hands. Smite through the loins of them that rise against him, and of them that hate him, that they rise not again. Don't come against Levi. This is your punishment. He was assigned to teach the children of Yasharol the law. He dropped the ball. But in the last days, when our Mashiach returns, he shall be our king, and Levi shall be reinstated. Verse 12. And of Benjamin, he said, the beloved of Yahuwah shall dwell in safety by him, and Yahuwah shall cover him all the day long, and he shall dwell between his shoulders. Now, in verse 7 to 12, we have all three tribes that were left: Judah, Levi, and Benjamin, all dwelt together in the land of Judah. They became as one tribe, but they were three separate tribes, brothers and sisters. So out of these three tribes, you've come from one of them. How many of you know who is one of the most famous people that are in the book, in the New Testament, that came from Benjamin? If you said Shaul, or if you said Paul, you were right. So remember, the last tribes that were together was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Verse 13. And of Joseph he said, Blessed of Yahuwah be his land, for the precious things of heaven, for the dew, and for the deep that coucheth beneath. Joseph, his land is going to be blessed. Verse 14, and for the precious fruits brought forth by the sun, and for the precious things put forth by the moon. Now I looked at this and I says, what precious things are put forth by the moon? As I examined this passage, the only thing that I could come up with, because the moon doesn't give you fruits, it doesn't cause the plants to grow, but I remembered something. The moon is the sign of feast. Those things are precious to Yahuwah. Verse 15. And for the chief things of the ancient mountains, and for the precious things of the lasting hills. Verse 16. and for the precious things of the earth and fullness thereof, and for the good will of him that dwelt in the bush, let the blessing come upon the head of Joseph, and upon the top of the head of him that was separated from his brethren. Joseph, remember, he was sold into captivity. Verse 17, his glory is like the firstlings of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. So I guess Joseph's emblem would be the unicorn. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth, and they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. So if you don't know about this, this is the tribe of Joseph, Ephraim and Manasseh. It's one tribe. He tells you that there's going to be 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. It doesn't give you the exact figure, but we can figure it out. Because in the last days, when the Father comes, he sends his Mashiach to return, to redeem his people. There's going to be 12,000 of each of the tribes of Yasharol shall be gathered together. So we can kind of put it together that Ephraim is 10. That means Manasseh is 2. That is 12,000. Verse 18. And of Zebulun he said, rejoice, Zebulun, in thy going out, and Issachar in thy tents. I guess they're going to lead the party. Verse 19. They shall call the people unto the mountain. There they shall offer sacrifices of righteousness. Who are we talking about? Zebulun and Issachar. For they shall suck of the abundance of the seas, and of treasures hid in the sand. Who knows what that is? Things that we've never seen or heard. It's hidden, brothers and sisters. You know that the pyramids were hidden. The Sphinx was hidden under the sand. They had to dig them up, and they saw these great and mighty structures. There's things hidden under the sand, brothers and sisters, that we can't even imagine. Verse 20. And of Gad he said, blessed be he that enlargeth Gad. He dwelleth as a lion, and teareth the arm with the crown of the head. Verse 21. And he provided the first part for himself, because there, in a portion of the lawgiver, was he seated. It's telling you he was there when they gathered at the mount, and he came with the heads of the people. He executed the justice of Yahuwah and his judgments with Yasharol. Verse 22. And of Dan he said, Dan is a lion's whelp. He shall leap from Bashan. Verse 23. And of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor, and full with the blessing of Yahuwah, possess thou the west and the south. Well, of course Naphtali can do this, because he is swift-footed Naphtali, according to the book of Jasher. When Joseph and his band came to bury our patriarch, Yasharol, Jacob, Israel, as they call him today, he ran across Esau and his people. They didn't want Joseph to bury the patriarch there. So Joseph told swift-footed Naphtali, run all the way back to Egypt, get the documents, and bring them back. What documents was that? The documents that was probably signed from Esau, signing over the land to Jacob. You see that, brothers and sisters? It's a lot in this book that we don't know about our history. That's why they took out the book of Jasher, Enoch, everything that was here originally, they took it out. They didn't want you to know certain things. Verse 24. And of Asher he said, let Asher be blessed with his children. Let him be acceptable to his brethren, and let him dip his foot in oil. I wonder why they're saying that. Maybe sometime as I study, I'll find out why Asher wasn't blessed with children and why he wasn't acceptable to his brother. But Moses here is saying, let him be blessed with children. Let him be acceptable to his brethren. Verse 25, thy shoes shall be iron and brass. We're still talking about Asher. And as thy days, so shall thy strength be. Verse 26, there is none like unto the mighty one of Yasharan, who rideth upon the heaven in thy help, and in his excellency on the sky. The book of Deuteronomy is revealing something to you, brothers and sisters. Your father is not floating in the sky on a cloud. He's not flying around in wings like they try to show you. He is using a spacecraft here. His help, his excellency on the sky. The Europeans know this to be a fact. This is why they are hiding it. They know something also, that even though they know that the Mighty One and his people, let's say his saints, who are riding in these spacecrafts in the sky, they know that Yahuwah can do nothing to them because Yahuwah keeps his word. This will all be reversed when you turn back to Yahuwah, keep his laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments. This is why they created all of these religions, to take you away, brothers and sisters. Their time is up when you return. Verse 27, the eternal mighty one is thy refuge. We walked away from our refuge. And underneath are the everlasting arms. We came from under his wings, his protection. And he shall thrust out the enemy from before thee. When you return back to him, your enemies are done, and shall say, destroy them. Don't look for this now. Don't pick up a gun, a knife, or any weapons whatsoever to try to hurt anyone. What you have to do is pick up this book, study it, apply it. This weapon is more powerful than any weapon, any nuclear weapon that the Europeans have, because the mighty one himself, who has created all things, will thrust out your enemies from before you. When you return, no one can stand against him. Verse 28, Yasharal then shall dwell in safety alone. You see how this book teaches you what to look for? Are those people over there who are posing to be us, are they dwelling in the land in safety? Are they alone? They're launching rockets from the Gaza Strip. You got suicide bombers running in and blowing themselves up and killing massive amounts of people. That tells you they're not dwelling in safety. Are they alone? You have the Christians in there who've built their churches and their worship. You have the Muslims there who built their mosque and they're having their worship. Does that sound right to you? Do you think that the Mighty One is going to have someone else worshiping a false god in the land of his people when he brought us back? It's not going to happen. The fountain of Jacob shall be upon a land of corn and wine. What is this fountain? The seed, the bloodline that flows from the loins of Jacob shall be upon the land of corn and wine. Also his heavens shall drop down dew. He's going to give us his treasures. We found out also that the reason that they cannot bring their harvest in on time, in due season, is because the Father is not giving them his treasures. He's reserved it for us. Verse 29, happy art thou, O Yasharal, who is like unto thee. No one has been chosen by Yahuwah except for us. O people saved by Yahuwah, you see. He is the shield of your help. Without him, you're nothing. And who is the sword of thy excellency? He will fight your battles. You don't have to do that. And thine enemies shall be found liars unto thee. Haven't we found that to be true? When you go into your book, your will and testament, your history book, and you really study this, like we're doing now, you find out that your enemies are nothing but liars. The whole foundation of their governments, their empires, is founded on lies. And thou shalt tread upon their high places. You see, when we return back to the land, there won't be any Christians with their churches. There won't be any Muslims with their mosques. There won't be any religion there. We will wipe them out. We will utterly destroy them. The only name that shall be glorified is the name of Yahuwah. This is how you know that the people who are there posing to be you are liars. Just like your book says, it shows you, it proves who the children of Yasharal are and who these people who are over there posing to be us. It shows you who they are also. Imposters. Continue to chapter 34, and we shall complete the book of Deuteronomy. Shalom.